This video will be using the guess and check strategy to solve a real-world situation. Guess and check is kind of the first step into algebra, and so it's a nice simple strategy. Let's go through this one. Mr. Snurd's cat, Chompy, weighs 8 pounds less than half of what his dog Chuck weighs. Let's change some of these words into math here, into math symbols. Less than means we're going to be subtracting. Half of, we know half means multiplying, and half means half, which we could also write as a decimal, right? Half of what his dog Chuck weighs. So we don't know what Chuck weighs. That's an unknown. Together, they weigh 58 pounds. Together is a word that means we're adding things. So we're going to have Chompy plus Chuck here is going to equal the word weigh in this case. That's where the equal sign comes in. 58 pounds. Okay, so we have some kind of a sense of the math that's going on here. And the word of is super important. How much does each pet weigh? Use a guess and check table to solve. As we learned in class, we want to let the problem create the table instead of trying to create the table ahead of time. Here's what I mean. What do we need to guess here? That means what don't we know? We don't know what Chuck weighs. So we're going to guess. Guess Chuck. Just like at the carnival. Alright, I'm going to guess he weighs 30 pounds. I don't think I'm right. I just need to get some numbers on the table here. I don't even care if I'm right. That's not really what the strategy is, not to really try to get it on the first guess. The strategy is to make a couple guesses and notice a pattern going on here. So let's do that. Now I need to then calculate Chompy. Up above in red, we talked about the math of the situation here. Chompy weighs 8 pounds less than half of, so here's half of, there's the less, and there's the 8. So I'm going to go half of 30, 8 pounds less. That's going to calculate Chompy. So there's half of Chuck less 8. Got it? So this is really like 15 minus 8. So if Chuck weighs 30, Chompy weighs 7, using the math from the story, then we're going to go Chuck plus Chompy. That's the together part, right? Together means adding. 30 plus 7 equals 37. And notice how I'm just creating the table as I go. I didn't try to put the headings in before I did any math. I let the math tell me the order here. And I'm checking 58. Bam, right? Well, and I'm too low. 37 is less than 58. Guess again. I'm going to go 40. We use the same process. Instead of 30, I'm going to use 40. So half of, there's the word of right there, half of 40 minus 8. What's half of 40? 20. That's 12. Chuck plus Chompy, 40 plus 12, 52. Still too low. Okay, I'm going to move this up. There go all the great red notes. There they go. You'll have to rewind if you want to check those out again. Or just watch it over again. Now here's the step we talked about in class. Stop and think. This is the most important step. This is where you look at what just happened and then you make a decision on what the correct answer is. Okay, stop and think. So I'm going to take it down to the bottom of the page here so I can show my thinking. Okay, first of all, I observed that my guess went up by 10 and my total went up by 15. You can see that from up above, right? Plus 10 there, plus 15 there. That's the change. So I can see this pattern. That's a fraction that I can reduce to 2/3, right? This means that for every change in my guess, for every 2 pounds that Chuck's guess changes, the total is going to change by 3. Okay? So, for every 2 pounds of Chuck, total changes by 3. This is the observation we need to know here. Now we can get the correct guess. What do I want it to change? I want a total change of 6, right? Because I need to get from 52 to 58. So the total is on the bottom here. So the question is, if 2 pounds of Chuck gets me 3 pounds of change, how many pounds of Chuck are going to get me 6 pounds of change? The answer is 4. So I need to increase Chuck's weight by 4.
Red zone is beginning at this time in room 38. Red zone in room 38. Thank you.
I apologize for that interruption. That was unpredictable, and I'm going to leave it in there. Red zone is meeting. Okay, so we were just talking about I need to increase Chuck's weight by 4 pounds, and I will get this right. So let's go back up here. 44. Half of 44 minus 8. I already know this is going to be right. This is not really a guess and check table. It's a stop and think table. Okay? 22 minus 8 is 14. Add those together, and I already know that I'm going to be right because I did the stop and think step. That's the lesson, okay? So our real goal on a guess and check table is to throw down a couple of guesses and not really care if you're right or wrong, to use nice easy numbers to work with because it's easier to do math and you're less likely to make a mistake. And then stop and think. Notice what the pattern is like we did here. We saw a ratio of 2 pounds of Chuck for 3 pounds of total. And then we just needed to figure out, hey, I need it to change by 6. Therefore, how much does my guess need to change by? Once we figured that out, we went back to the table and we knew that third guess was going to be right. Your goal is to always get it on the third guess.